Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to OPC Season 2. I'm AVRL. Joined with me this evening is Pixie, as we're now heading into the second match of the evening between Flash Wolves and Mega.
And in the break, I actually bought Kevin a sat-nav. That was how he was able to get here on time. And we are going to be having Flash Wolves taking on Mega. We were actually just talking about this one. We were like, all right, now watch Mega upset. But the thing is, like, it's totally not out of the picture here. After their performance against AHQ, who themselves had beaten Flash Wolves prior to losing to Mega, the potential is totally there.
Second new uniforms as well. I mean, they're just ready. They're dressed for action. They're pumped for action. Got a few words from both sides, Apudo and Ray.
下周开始就是季后赛。
So we're into playoffs next week.
我们现在基本上就是确定会是第二。
So right now we're pretty much second.
希望下礼拜大家能够
And we hope
买票，然后来看我们。
I hope we can get a lot of supporters.
好的，工商时间，下礼拜大家记得买票来帮闪电人加油，好吗？来 ，Open Talk。
台湾人好可爱。
哦，帮他翻译，他说台湾人好可爱，他就是每次来他都一定要学一句中文来讲就对了。好啦，谢谢你啦。那我们这边呢，精彩比赛马上就要开始，马上把画面交给主播赛评。
That's an interesting one, actually. Pretty much made it into playoffs, but technically speaking, they lose here and they lose tomorrow, and Hong Kong Attitude win today and tomorrow, then actually they don't get second place.
Well, that's the thing. Technically into playoffs, but not technically second place yet.
The difference is, though, look, the second and third doesn't actually matter too much because they still play each other in the
semi. It matters for home and away.
Yeah, that's the only influence it has. So that's the thing, right? They're guaranteed to play in that second, third place semi-final. The thing that this remainder of this weekend still determines for them is whether or not they get the home side. Right now, it's looking like they pretty much will. Look, it's not at all out of the question that Hong Kong Attitude get those couple of wins and Flash Wolves pick up those losses. Actually, hold on a second. I may have mathed it out wrong. And no, actually, with that 10-2, it is mathematically impossible for Flash Wolves to not finish second. So never mind.
And we're here in 2017. So we've arrived now. Flash Wolves are definitely going to be the second place team. And it has to be that battle between Hong Kong Attitude, Blank, and AHQ. But of course, the team to talk about here is Mega. So let's go ahead and meet Mega now, or let's go ahead and meet the teams in general. And something you brought up was really interesting because Mega did beat AHQ in one of the previous weeks. And before that, AHQ also beat Flash Wolves. So things get a little bit tricky now. Do you draw the dots and say Mega also have the possibility of beating Flash Wolves as well?
And here's the thing, right? Even if they don't, Mega have actually achieved their goal for this season, right? And look, this is a team that came into the top of the season. As Fireball last season, they were able to finish third to last, able to just barely stay ahead of Detonator and Sun Sister, who both got relegated. They were safe. They were into Season 2. Then they started getting a lot more support structure in behind them. Getting picked up by Mega was a huge part of that. Getting the coaching staff in there, getting the other support staff, widening up the roster, and now finally sort of gelling with that roster. Their goal for this season was to push themselves further, no doubt, but to do it on the bed of all the support structure. And in order to do that, they actually had to gel with that support structure, had to have that all come together. It's fair to say that now that they're picking up wins against teams like AHQ, that has happened. From here, Mega will want to go into that more nitty-gritty part of making those real minute improvements in the gameplay itself. But the fact that they've achieved what they have so far without actually looking too detailed on the gameplay kind of speaks to the raw potential of this team. And now that they are looking at the gameplay, that would be the base upon which they could create the upset here.
I'll talk about the other team as well, which is their competition this evening with the Flash Wolves. Now firmly in that second place spot. They just beat Blank in a 3-0 sweep last night. That's even better than Ardient's result tonight against Blank. So Flash Wolves are kind of looking better and better as the season progresses. They're kind of this late bloomer team in Season 2 so far. In the first round robin, they dropped a lot of first maps, but now they're getting those 3-0s.
And that's the thing. We've already kind of mentioned it, but they came into this off the loss at World Cup that saw them not making it into the round of 8, which was a bit of a tough pill to swallow for them. Coming into this tournament, they were still kind of carrying the weight of that loss, and that was felt quite heavily. There was also a lot of struggle with adapting to the Doomfist meta, and a couple of other just little things in here, but then things started to turn around for them. They started really adapting to the Doomfist meta a lot better, to the point where, now that we're seeing a lot less Doomfist, they're actually one of the few teams still running it. Like, that is actually a huge turnaround in itself. It's a very concrete marker of the progression that this team has had and how they're now looking coming into playoffs. So even with picking up that loss against AHQ, all that is really a sign of is the overall competitiveness of these teams that are likely to make playoffs. But this is a good-looking Flash Wolves.
And it's not even just Flash Wolves still using Doomfist. It's actually still being successful in using Doomfist. They're actually getting results. They're getting the kills. You're seeing the impact. You're actually seeing the reasoning behind still making that pick happen. So for other teams, some questions there. You wonder, okay, are they going to be able to change up? Are they going to be able to adapt? Flash Wolves, those are answered. Speaking of change-ups though, Mega has had a lot of change-ups, not just on the roster, not just in the roles, but now late into the season in terms of compositions as well, running a lot of triple DPS. White that you just saw on the left there, one of the components of that triple DPS.
And even later than that, still change-ups in the uniform, right? Because, I mean, that looks sick.
What are they going to look like tomorrow?
Who knows? Looks great, really does. But speaking of triple DPS, I mean, you can't really talk about it without talking about the kind of center point of that trio being Apudo, their main DPS player. And, like, right from the get-go, this guy has always just been a shining stand-up player.
He's waving on the camera.
Come on. Give the other team some time. But he's been a shining stand-up player, and that's the thing, not just in terms of his gameplay, but also as a personality. Like, this guy is kind of like the center point of the team as a whole in both senses, almost.
Oh man, an incident I was one to talk about because he started off the season on the bench, then he came on as a core member of the roster, picking up the Tracer. Now he's playing the support as well, so White's taken up his Tracer position on the DPS slot. It's interesting to see how far Enzina has progressed, and in fact, is he remaining on the support or not? Graceful now back onto the flex.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you see what Graceful's actually got in his most...
Zonda noob.
Oh, wow, that's rough. That's rough. I love Taiwan. That's nice of him. But the thing is, like, you see on the hero picks there, it's got the Genji and the Zarya. Doesn't actually have the D.Va, which is one thing he has been playing, but it certainly suggests that he is going to be off the Zenyatta for this match as well, and they're going to be putting NZNR over to that. Indeed, the secondary healer as a whole. Elk, of course, the last man to round off that one, performs a lot of the in-game shot calling functions of the team as well, because that's the other thing. They kind of started off the season without really having that same bed of shot calling, so that's all stuff that's had to be put into this team over the course of the season, and they had to very systematically sit down and go, what are all the things we need to implement here? And they've spent the whole season so far very successfully implementing one thing after another to the point where they're now looking to be a real top contender.
And Elk actually had a birthday wish from last week, which was, by the way, his birthday. And he said he wants to beat Flash Wolves. That is his birthday wish. Is he going to get it, though? And certainly Mega, they're going to try their hardest. And after last week's performance, where they nearly took down Blank and they did take down AHQ, they're looking more and more set to actually be able to challenge Flash Wolves, which is why this matchup now is kind of indeterminate. It's actually quite difficult to say how far we're going to get into here and who's going to come out on top.
Well, Flash Wolves, being the second time these teams are meeting, are going to get the home side this time around. They're going to be taking us to Nepal, and it means they get to dodge the Ilios, I suppose. That's one thing that's, I guess, a factor there. But honestly, Flash Wolves, they'd be happy on Nepal. They'd be happy on Lijiang Tower. I like this map pick.
Flash Wolves also beat Blank on Ilios last night, so even if we did go to Ilios, I don't see Flash Wolves really suffering there. Zonda plays quite well on Ilios because he has a soldier pick, but now going into Nepal, things do work out still in favor of Flash Wolves. They run a really good Junkrat. Both Bacon Jack and Zonda have picked that one up. Doomfist functions pretty well in Nepal across the different maps as well, so all in all, this is not a bad pick for Flash Wolves.
Yeah, all in all, that's got to be the way you put this here. The only thing, though, is it's kind of hard now to bring up that Ilios metric against Blank just because of Blank's performance against Ardian on Ilios. And I suppose that in itself currently speaks to a wider theme, I suppose, across this tournament in these closing weeks. And it was something that was a theme even in the early stages, but the fact that it has stayed a factor for so long in this tournament really speaks to the caliber of these teams. Look, anyone can beat anyone still, and it just keeps coming down to how teams play on the day. The consistency is improving for all of these teams. I won't say that it's inconsistency necessarily that is having teams pick up some wins and then some losses, but on the whole, sometimes teams are just turning up and really showing it out on the day. That's how AHQ beat Flash Wolves. That's how Mega beat AHQ. And maybe Mega can beat Flash Wolves now too.
They may just be turning up really hard. They have been improving week in and day out as well. So this is potentially the best Mega we've seen all OPC Season 2, all the change-ups that they have made, all the role swaps, the uniform change even today, everything leads up to their performance now.
And it's interesting, no one's had a late tournament slump. It's all just been up and up and up for all these teams, constantly pushing each other forward. And now Mega trying to make that final push, trying to overcome Flash Wolves at long last.
And it's going to be Zonda onto the Doomfist as well, so we already know how successful he can be on this. Look for those opening picks, so because otherwise, Apudo just pokes them all out.
There it is, yeah, it's the poke out. And honestly, they were already reeling from Jongi getting so low. It was only pulling back to the health pack that actually kept them in this one. So Mega, that's a good pick. Don't get any more follow-up for how low Flash Wolves actually were, but they do get the positioning on the point.
Yeah, so all things considered, Flash Wolves exit out of that fight rather clean, not losing too many members. They don't quite approach this recap in a position where they can stop the initial cap over, so Mega now get that progression. Flash Wolves are going to fight for it.
Yeah, good pressure onto T1 and Graceful. They got some onto K-Momo and Jongi, but not as much. But there's going to be the kills actually coming through. They just sort of trade their butt. Now it's Bacon Jack able to get those DPSs out of the picture. Apudo going down as well. White to follow. That's the good close out on the very end there. And Mega not trading those ones back means Flash Wolves able to get the regrab.
And the speed that Flash Wolves came in was really good. He was able to, well, rather all of Flash Wolves, K-Momo started things off by coming in as a tank first, but Bacon Jack on the backside, he was one that picked up a lot of kills. That you see the one clip you got into White at the end, Bacon Jack was all over the kill feed.
Now looking to just get super aggressive here. Zonda instant DMAC on Graceful, converting that kill to Flash Wolves. That's how you do it. Mega trying to make a beeline for the point. They've actually snuck the cap out. That's kind of a saving grace for them in this one, but they're losing these members and they actually committed ultimates in that as well. Little unfortunate for them. That's, well, still going to just be the grab back the way of Flash Wolves.
There's a really good flank by Zonda as well. You could actually see the team playing from Flash Wolves there. Bacon Jack and the rest of the squad going up in the main door in the front side where the cap is, and then Zonda with a flank around the backside with the meteor strike, making sure that there's no one that can escape. So Flash Wolves, they clean everybody on Mega side up.
And now, once again, yeah, Mega just so lean on ultimates, but that's a great catch on the Zonda, actually. Ends and are able to commit the Transcendence. They do want to kind of convert off that if they can, but they so far are getting Realman as well, who hasn't committed the ultimate Sinclair as well. And I think smart to actually not commit the Transcendence, after Realman had gone down. That's going to be the cleanup now from Mega, getting the grab back for themselves.
It's a good turnaround there, and they have a couple more ultimates to sort of keep themselves in the game as well. Flash Wolves on the other side, you've already sort of mentioned this, but they managed to save double support ultimates. That's going to be really important for them for their own retake, and really important that they use these double support ultimates properly.
That being said, Mega do at least at the Sound Barrier and some other ultimates to boot. No conversion, unfortunately, for Bacon Jack with that Pulse Bomb. Trying to get aggressive, though, onto NZNR will pay off. The Sound Barrier not enough to keep him alive, and now those support ultimates from Flash Wolves used to great effect as they convert the kills through in the fight. T1, Primal Rage committed on a lost fight. That's just unfortunate for them. They're not getting any trade kills. They're throwing in a self-destruct to the mix as well, but they got nothing for that. Now they've just got less ultimates to use when they try and regrab. I have got to call that out. That was a mistake. And
it's always going to be difficult to fight through double support ultimates on the Flash Wolf side. The Primal Rage didn't really help Mega on their side at all. Out-committed the Sound Barrier as well. All in all, that was a pretty decent, or rather big commit out of Mega that doesn't get you any results. So now they're behind. Once again in progress, Zonda going to open things up.
Yeah, insta-gib onto Elk. He's got the Meteor Strike to stay safe as well, and it's just clean up from there. Honestly, Mega just didn't even have the resources to weather through the damage as it was.
They're running out of time to weather it any further. The storm is about to blow over Mega, and we may just see the second stage sooner than Mega would like here. One more opportunity to come back in. No ultimates. White could get a Pulse Bomb. Apudo could get a Tactical Visor, but other than that, they're going to have to run dry.
The thing is, they kind of have to get those, and they've got to fight through all these displacement ultimates as well, and the Primal Rage and the Self-Destruct, but they've got on the point, losing NZNR in the process, though. They do get the regrab back the other way onto Zonda. Need to get a few more kills, though, as the Self-Destruct is placed well, gives the space for Bacon Jack to convert, and that one grab back onto K-Momo will not at all be enough. 99 to 66, as Flash Wolves getting the first map.
A couple of misfires from the Mega side to sort of give that one over to Flash Wolves. They started out quite dominant. You had that opening pickup on the Zonda by Apudo to really set the stage. You had Mega in a situation where they got the early progress on the cap, but as soon as Flash Wolves came back in, they came back in extremely dominant. Bacon Jack picking up a number of kills, and then it was Flash Wolves just holding onto the cap even further. Zonda, good wraparound, Meteor Strike. Everything was working in the favor of the Flash Wolves. A little bit of resistance from Mega to be able to get a cap back, but other than that, nothing to write home about.
And you've got to say as well, look, Really, from the moment T2 committed that Primal Rage, there was no coming back. They were never going to get the ultimates back in their favor. They were just going to have to get frags. They were just going to have to get individual picks and play the positional game. And Flash Wolves had the ultimates to disrupt that in itself as well. Mega need to kind of tidy that up if they want to pull it back now on Shrine.
We haven't seen Zonda on Genji in a very long time, by the way. This is the first Genji we've seen since, I would like to say, even towards the later end of Season 1. Certainly the first one at all of Season 2.
And that's already the pressure and conversion on NZ&R. Good catch back onto Bacon Jack, though, keeps them in the mix here. They need to respect all the damage from Flash Wolves. Is going to be a lot harder to heal right now. And they do respect it indeed as they get aggressive onto Zonda, who was not quite able to fall back. And Mega keeping it tidy for a moment, don't take too much, and instantly re-aggress when they see the window.
You're just not seeing the impact from Flash Wolves that you do on their more normal compositions here. Mega set themselves up. They use Apudo as a turret and they get the kills. They get the impactful, consistent damage out of him. And Mega can absolutely take advantage of it. And for Flash Wolves, just no response.
Unfortunately not. They're trying to get aggressive now onto Apudo, though, who's having to kind of pull back. That gives Flash Wolves a window. Storm has been weathered for a moment now from Mega. White having to use the recall. They need to get the damage out to Jongi. Indeed, they do. NZ&R staying alive in that. Now they're just getting these kills through. Have the ultimates as well if they need them to close it out, but they don't even need them. They've just got the kills, and they get to hold onto the ultimates, and they get to hold onto the point, and they're going to be able to reinforce in plenty of time.
And not even Bacon Jack can save you this time either. Mega, that was a pretty clean fight. Didn't have to use any ultimates. They're way ahead now. Flash Wolves, you're just still waiting. Where are the Flash Wolves ultimates? There's no double supports just yet. Zonda nearly on Dragon Blade, but is it going to be enough?
They do have some coming up soon, though, so if Mega don't get quick kills with these ultimates, Flash Wolves may just start to overwhelm them with the double support ultimates, given that Mega will only have the one. But the window is now closing. Yeah, Zonda's so low. Can't really Dragon Blade straight away because of that, but he got topped off. That's crucial. Bacon Jack now is the one pressured out, but no kills just yet for Mega, and White's the first casualty. That's the sound tactical visor, rather, out from Apudo, but he's just not got anything for it. Jongi instantly on top of him with the Primal Rage. He won't get the kill, but he stops that. Oh, wow, that's a great catch on Zonda, and that's immediately the swing point now of the fight, as the ultimate's getting committed from both teams, but Mega the one's converting and holding on to a couple two. Not done yet. No, Realman late sound barrier, but it may be a saving grace for them as they demech Grace full. Sound barrier itself out of L2. Apudo still in this fight, still dishing up the damage. They're still converting kills, getting Bacon Jack late in the mix, and now Zonda needs to get a Dragon Blade because actually Flash Wolves are out of time. If they don't get anything off this or the self-destruct, they just get nothing at all, but they've got something. They've got Apudo, they're getting T2 2, they've got the lot, they're going to be able to get the point cap as well, unless somehow NZ&R does something crazy here, but it looks like it will be Flash Wolves getting back on the board just for now.
NZ&R is going to be the lone monk here, trying to kick his way into this action, but unfortunately sends himself back into the respawn room, and finally, at 99%, Mega into the overtime to Flash Wolves finally tip it back over, and we waited so long to see the Dragon Blade from Zonda. A lot of questions to say, is he going to get value out of this? In fact, he does, but Flash Wolves, such a huge deficit.
The fight went on long enough for Flash Wolves, though, that they charged up the ultimates they lost. They're going to be able to get that Transcendence and Sound Barrier back in time. They've got those tank ultimates. You cannot say the same for Mega right now.
And Mega, this is a difficult situation to be in, but certainly not the worst one, because they have time to sit themselves back. They have time to fall back, reset, and get those ultimates that they are lacking.
That was a good dive out of Flash Wolves, and they converted a good enough number of kills, but probably wanted to get a few more than that, given that that was all their resources that they had at the time. With those support ultimates up, it's not the end of the world, but they're now going to be playing into Mega's tank and DPS ultimates, and that could just tip the scales.
So this is where Mega can choose. Are they going to try and get these double support ultimates out of Flash Wolves first and then commit later into a separate fight, or do they try and commit now potentially into the double support ultimates, which will then kind of make it a 50-50 fight?
Oh, well, they lose White, but they commit anyway. They do catch Bacon Jack and K-Momo too, and they've caught him away from those support ultimates. And by the way, Realman still doesn't have the sound barrier, so Mega happy enough to take that one, and will be able to get their own support ultimates up soon, come into Primal Rage to try and close it out now, but Flash Wolves are able to reinforce with that Transcendence. There's the Dragon Blade out, nothing for it yet with that sound barrier on. They barely get to at the last moment there, and now Mega are kind of lean on the resources. No Transcendence just yet from NZ&R, doesn't get it in time. 80% though, they've still got time for one last fight, but only if they reset quickly.
And by the way, Flash Wolves started this engagement, or rather started this map on 0 to 99. Mega have had this huge lead for this entire entire time now. Flash Wolves threatening to get into the overtime themselves. No team has any ultimates, but what Flash Wolves does have is area control, and Mega have to be fighting to Flash Wolves territory as Inzanao finally gets that Transcendence.
And there he goes, popping it out very quickly, but they need to convert, and that means they need to turn tail and address Bacon Jack potentially, because Jongi's going to look to get them to the back line as well. And they're just playing Disruption, getting Elk, and all they've got so far is K-Momo's mech, but there's the catch on Realman. They need more. Jongi trying to get a Pudo, but Jongi's getting pressured out, gets bumped off the edge, trying to come back in, finally gets it over the line, and Mega, because of Pudo, couldn't dish out that extra damage. They just couldn't close out on those tanks, on those members on the point that were doing the work, and that's going to be it for Flash Wolves, able to turn that one back around to pull Nepal back to them.
And it does feel like Flash Wolves were on the back foot for both of those Nepal stages that we saw there. Mega, they had a commanding lead, especially on Shrine, 99-0. That's the best possible lead that you can get, but they can never finish the map out, and that is an issue.
And that's the thing, look, getting that first strike is a great thing. I'm not going to take away from that achievement. But yeah, Flash Wolves were on the back foot, but they hit a point where they kind of regained their balance, they rallied, they pushed back, and Mega never regained their balance after that pushback happened. You've got to expect that the team is going to be able to grab it back off you at some point. If you can't ever get it back yourself, you're just not going to pick up map wins. And look, Mega have been able to do that in the past, but it seems that against Flash Wolves, they're maybe just finding it a little bit more of a challenge than they were expecting. And off the back of that, Flash Wolves going to pick themselves up the 2-0 on their own map pick, Nepal.
And even despite Shrine being very 50-50, and that was partially due to the fact that you could see the rush take place on Zonder's Genji there. Look, I know he's a cybernetic ninja, but for Zonder, unfortunately, it's a bit of a rusty cybernetic ninja. It's like just not the same kind of impact.
For too long.
It's just not the same kind of impact that you expect. A big far cry from what you saw on Zonder with the Doomfist on Village. That was a lot of kills, a lot of damage. Just not the same thing on Shrine.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got to say right at the end there as well was the most winnable fight for Mega, when they'd actually won some pretty commanding fights. If you can win those ultless fights at the start of the map very reliably, but you're not winning fights that are pretty much ultless later on in the map, then it's only kind of this one-off thing in a way. It's not actually consistent enough. You want to be able to repeat that in those later moments where it could actually be earning you the map win, because that counts far more than getting the first grab on the point. First grab on the point is useful, sets you up well, but you've got to do something with that setup.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because the sort of theory here goes that the first fight is a neutral fight. Both teams come in at the same time. But if you are going to get that 99-0 lead, to close it out says that if you do lose a fight, you need to know how to play from behind, because when Flash Wolves get the cap itself, you are then playing from behind. You have to be the attackers pushing into a Flash Wolves defense, and if you're unable to play from behind as an attacker into a defense, then you never finish the map, even if you did start 99-0.
Exactly. Let's go ahead and take a look at some replays, see how that one did actually play out, because this was that opening skirmish, and again, it was the second time they were able to win the opening skirmish. It got a little bit rough at the start here. They lost NZNR, but like I said, all they had to do was respect the damage. They got the trade kill on Bacon Jack, which made it harder for Flash Wolves to put out that damage. And they were just able to pull back, not take any damage, dish a little bit extra out, and then they were able to recommit at an opportune moment where Zonder was low, instantly converted that kill, instantly converted on the other members who were then low. Didn't matter that Flash Wolves still had both of those healers and Mega only had one, because they were able to get the closeout on the damage quick enough that they were able to get it over the line. It was really well handled by Mega, losing that healer so quickly.
And that was unfortunately one of those fights where you did see a lack of impact out of Zonder. It was a bit of a question mark right at the start. Seeing Zonder back onto the Genji, is he going to be able to perform? It looks a bit shaky. Comes in, he unfortunately dies, doesn't add enough damage. Not even Bacon Jack can save the team in that situation. And it took a very long time before Flash Wolves could come back at the overtime before they recapped.
Yeah, I mean, that was unfortunately the case for Flash Wolves, but fortunately they were actually able to hold it out from there. So it's like, once that regrab came through, it became unfortunately for Mega in a way. It was just a really interesting series as a whole on the poll there, because you saw the aptitude out of Mega. There was a pretty profound mistake that did happen on Village. I won't harp on any more about that than I already have. Shrine, on the other hand, was just this, you know, all the ability was there. Everything was there. They'd actually already done it in a sense. They just didn't do it again when it mattered. And that has been a common thing with this team. You've got to expect that when they are able to start looking at the nitty-gritty of what's going wrong in the gameplay itself, you'll start seeing them overcome their opponents in those moments. But for now, that is a very common point of failure for Mega.
And that's what makes the difference between the two teams, because we talk about the fact that even if you're leading, if you drop the cap, you need to come back from behind. Flash Wolves can do that and even more. The fact that we're 0-99 behind, that's as far behind as you can possibly get, and then they come back and get the re-grab, and then because they're able to hold that one cap for so long, just get good ultimate rotations, Zonda's able to be impactful, Dragon Blades were actually very decent. That's how Flash Wolves maintain their control.
Well, now with that all done and dusted, we're away from control. We're on to Mega's map pick. They're going to be taking us to King's Row, looking to steer well clear of Eichenwald.
And that's probably it's a good pick for Mega to go to King's Row here, because it's interesting you bring up Eichenwald. Strangely, and I guess based on evidence as well, that is one of Flash Wolves' best hybrid pick. So dodging Flash Wolves' best hybrid pick, as well as going into and dodging potentially now one of your worst ones,
yeah,
it's a good idea.
And it's one that they themselves have picked a lot, but it does seem that more recently they've started to acknowledge, look, okay, maybe it's working in scrims, but it's just not working in this LAN environment itself. When it counts, we're just not getting the same results. Let's go to the safer pick. Let's go to King's Row.
It will be interesting to see how teams adapt to this one, because so far every team we've seen go to King's Row has pulled out some sort of different composition, whether that be Reinhardt Zaya or onto the Junkrat or Pharmacy for some teams as well. We've even seen, you know, more turret-based compositions. So anything is kind of possible here. It will be really interesting to see exactly what gets played.
London. I've got to say, though, this map is a little bit inaccurate. Like, I wish that if there was any weather effect added to this game, it would be a constant drizzle on King's Row. Like, this is actually, they're fighting on,
overcast.
Like, yeah, they're fighting on, like, one of the 5 clear days of the year on King's Row. It's not even overcast, because if you look up, there's gaps in clouds, and you can see the moon. So it's like...
I'm saying, isn't London usually overcast?
Yeah, exactly. Like, not only is it not raining, it's also not overcast. Like, that happens once. Like, you know the song I Am the Walrus by the Beatles? Makes no sense. Absolutely none. It's nonsense lyrics. Except for the one line of sitting in an English garden waiting for the sun. It's the only thing that is remotely grounded in reality. I lived in England. That's exactly how it happens. King's Row. I can give them a pass on, like, the terrible Australian accent for Junkrat. But honestly, the inaccuracies on King's Row are just too much to bear. It needs more misery.
Yeah, in the Overwatch lore, they just didn't have the industrialism of the 1800s to smog up the skies. So.
But there's so many smokestacks there, it doesn't make any sense.
It's a lot more efficient and clean in the year, whatever it is in Overwatch.
We actually receive the exact same amount of rainfall over the course of a year as London. We just receive it in like a third of the time. So for them, it is really actually raining most days.
All right.
Anyway.
The only thing that is raining down will
justice.
Zonda's rockets. A lot of justice.
A lot of justice raining.
We did talk about the fact that Pharmacy is starting to show itself a little bit on the King's Row, and they're going to do it with Bacon Jack as well. So this is about as siege as possible.
And already losing Sinclair is a little unfortunate for themselves, and there's kind of this awkward wraparound of positioning that's happening right now. Mega are just kind of happy to take that. They pull back White. They're going to be just fine. Even getting a glory kill, as it were, on Bacon Jack. Oh, losing White to the trap. That's unfortunate.
After Bacon Jack dies as well, so he kind of just walks on. Says goodnight. Tracer and White will be to get back in time, though. The good news is Apudo has a really good pick against the Pharmacy here. And interestingly enough, is also a very good pick against Bacon Jack, assuming the sightlines are clear.
Losing White ended up being rescued as well by the pick on Jongi. Getting K-Momo after that too was honestly just a bonus. Apudo now feeling very good.
They should feel pretty good as well as Mega get themselves, you know, a little bit closer to those ultimates. White in position to actually get a lot of damage on the Sinclair. That can make the difference.
Nearly closing it out, but not quite. They need to wrap around and deal with White, and there he goes. Has to pull back for a moment.
Oh!
The Zonda instead. Sinclair had to turn his attention to the tanks for a brief moment. They do lose T2, but Mega have still got the resources to hold this one out. And Flash Wolves kind of have to back off for a moment and wait for Zonda. They do get the sooner respawn, but this is still a window now for Mega to convert another kill.
That was a really good kill here as well. Pulsepoint's going to do a little bit of damage, but so far, you're just waiting for Flash Wolves. You're waiting for this big contest to come out. They're just feeling the ground. Again, this is a siege composition. That means they need to play it slow. They need to siege out a lot of damage, and so far, it's not enough damage.
The Reptile, they'd pulled back so that Apudo could shoot it and stop it, but it still finds T1. He has to commit this tactical visor now to try and get some kills through. They have to respect the res though, and Jongi actually doesn't commit the Primal Rage, but there's the instant res to bring him back. Good self-destruct though, stops them from really converting much on the res, and they get the kill on Sinclair. Now Jongi has to commit the Primal Rage this time to stay safe. Elk's got the sound barrier, actually doesn't commit it to save Graceful, doesn't commit it to save NZNR either, coming in just a moment too late perhaps, and T1 gonna have to do a lot of work with his own ultimates now because Zonda's cleaning house with these rockets. Flash Wolves just getting the moments, getting the picks that they needed, and Flash Wolves, they're gonna get the cap off it too.
Should get it fairly soon now, nearly 2/3 on through. White got a return kill in the middle there, so some resistance still being poised by the Mega Squad at the moment, but eventually that does run out as Zonda sends White back to respawn room.
Man, can I get like an action replay on White's ragdoll there from that rocket?
It's pretty extreme.
He actually flew like farther and faster than the rocket itself.
Flying back to the respawn room.
Like actually flying.
Right, well, we did see Flash Wolves, despite it being rather slow, as soon as they did set up positioning, as soon as the rockets did rain true for Zonda, that's when the heavy damage comes out. The Riptide here would allow Flash Wolves to get a little bit more momentum rolling on through. That's going to be important to get past this bookshop section, and Mega, they really need to set themselves up here.
Oh, Apudo, they're trying to close out him in the trap, and they do indeed manage to get that. Now Bacon Jack actually does get the kill with the tire as well, despite losing his life, but I mean, 1 for 1 is totally fine. They already had Apudo. They're closing out of these other kills. No one can contest Zonda right now. The payload's still underway.
Still underway, and Mega still haven't found a setup position. Look how many members they have to still wait for respawns for. They're still just needing to regroup before they even move forward. This cart is going to hit the end of B before Mega are even in position to strike.
Speaking of being in position, they've got all these ultimates here, Flash Wolves. Once they are in the position themselves, that was a very cheap fight prior to that. It was Apudo in the trap, and then the kill with the Riptire set themselves up with their numbers advantage. T1 needs to be careful, catch onto White. They still have the ultimates to commit if they even need them, but they just might not here. Mega really struggling to put up much of a fight, just barely pausing the cap now as Apudo commits the tactical visor and gets nothing for it. And Flash Wolves, still without having to commit ultimates, are looking to get this fight win through. Self-destructed to preserve his life there out of K-Momo, and that's the Rocket Barrage looking to close out the fight, getting Elk and Graceful's mechas more than enough, it seems, to close that one out as they get the kill on Graceful, get the kill on T1, and they get the cap to boot.
And killing Apudo mid-tactical visor is a really big loss for the Mega side. That's one of the few ultimates that can really challenge Zonda and Sinclair in the skies. Now Zonda and Sinclair continue their reign of terror. They continue running down rockets, and Bacon Jack adding to that spam damage as well. It just seems like the siege composition is getting the better out of Mega, and you haven't seen a good response yet.
Spammage, as it were. And now Flash Wolves, they've still got these ultimates to commit here. Apudo's going to get a lot done with this Widowmaker. There's still the res to be a factor as well. This is honestly still Mega on the back foot.
Still haven't gotten rid of this res just yet either. When Flash Wolves really want to commit, they can use the sound barrier. So for Mega, they actually have more tools here. They got more ultimates, and you'd expect them to make the first move and really make it work.
That's a good kind of catch, and it does actually bring out the res as they convert onto K-Momo's mech as well. So really getting some mileage out of that Transcendence committed from NZNR. Zonda does get Apudo, but that's all actually Flash Wolves get in the return kills of this fight. That is exactly what Mega have been looking for.
No sound barrier commit out of Realman either, so wanting to go for the full reset there. Now Bacon Jack, well, actually Bacon Jack's still staying on the same here, but Zonda and Sinclair swapping off the pharmacy. Zonda even going back onto the Genji here, and Bacon going onto the Tracer. So now, heavy dive. And this kind of does counter out Apudo, because Apudo so far has been looking to counter out the pharmacy with the Widowmaker.
Oh my goodness, did you see that mind game? He used the Riptire, didn't actually run it in, just knew that it was going to zone Mega back, and then instantly swapped the Tracer so they could commit to the fight and take that space. T1 though trading one back onto Sinclair, and NZNR has the closer respawn. Looks like Mega have kind of weathered the storm for now. Self-destruct from K-Momo. Gets spaced, but doesn't get kills, but it's with that space that they get the kills now as they convert onto White as well. And Mega still very much on the back foot. They don't actually have any ultimates to commit to keep in this fight. Now they're going to be looking at a last defense.
And there's still a lot of, well, at least enough time for Flash Wolves to finish this one off. They only have one ultimate here, but Mega have none, and that's the biggest difference. Mega are going to try and get this defense done dry completely, and they have to just do it right now before Flash Wolves cap off.
Oh, good bump onto Jongi, just keeps NZNR alive for now, but there's still these ultimates that can be committed from Flash Wolves. There's the catch on the Elk as Jongi goes aggressive, Bacon Jack goes off. And Mega just don't have the ultimates left anymore. Self-destruct is their only tool as T2 and Apudo bashed back into the base. Closing out those kills there is Mega. So, despite that self-destruct, Flash Wolves getting it over the line.
A couple of good fight wins right at the end there on C, but A has to be the talking point for Mega's defense. That's where they really held their own for a long, long time. That's what really gave this Mega squad enough time to kind of, despite not finishing the map or completing the map on the defense side, forcing Flash Wolves to cap out with only 107 or 106 remaining, because Zonda and the rest of his squad lost all of it mainly on the A.
It was a bit of an interesting situation on the whole, and kind of similar thing we see a lot out of Mega actually, is they have a good moment, then they have a bad moment, then they have a good moment. And that actually means that they kind of make it harder for themselves to overcome the enemy team. You've got to say, right, like what if Streets Phase had have had a little bit more resistance than what it did? What if the last point had have had even more resistance, like as much as point A? Like, in fact, what if they just repeated the point A performance on the other two? Maybe the cap would have still gone through, but it would have at least happened in overtime, and Mega would have given themselves the opportunity to stop the cart altogether. Now, their best shot is to push this one to overtime, then they've still got to find a way to win it in the time bank.
Well, you did see where Mega was the most competitive, and it was on one of the last couple of fights when they had the ultimate advantage, and it was kind of a question mark. You said, are they going to go in here because you expect them to? They have the advantage for one of the few times on this defense, and they need to make it work, and when they did, it was working. Apudo, despite being on the Widowmaker, still having contributions, eventually changes back onto the Soldier, and that's when Mega really took control of C. But other than that, when it was Flash Wolves pushing on through with the Siege composition, double spam on the Pharah and the Junkrat, they were uncontested.
Well, now we'll have to see how Flash Wolves defend, because they are opting into the McCree here. Gonna round it out with a full-on triple tank comp here, actually, with that Zarya and Reinhardt. So, interesting setup, because it looks like it's also going to be triple DPS on the other side of that out of Mega.
So the exact opposite going into this triple DPS versus triple tank. And you do have to kind of favor Flash Wolves here, because if good flashbang shuts down both Graceful and White, and a lot of this composition relies on setting up Apudo as well.
And the reality is, Bacon Jack just with one headshot can take out either White, Apudo, or Graceful. So they have to be very careful of that, as well as just the flashbang. But it's K-Momo being the first casualty. Not easy to take down a Roadhog, but hey, they've done it. Now they get Jongi too. That kind of cracks the tank line wide open. It's just got to be Zonda protecting Bacon Jack, but he can't, as Apudo set up is able to get that shot through. And now Flash Wolves very much on the back foot. Need to keep these members alive if they want to go for a recontest. They do so. But I don't even know if they can still go for a recontest.
This is a really difficult moment for Flash Wolves. I think they are going to go for this one. Nano Boost was committed.
Yeah, Zonda was the one who got the commit. He was powered up and he got in there, but it was just a little too late. And that's an ultimate they now don't have. They lost Sinclair as well. The cap went through anyway. Mega did lose some members, but they get the instant respawn. They get to pull back and get on the cart. Naputo even getting a late pick on Realman. They'll get some momentum on their side too.
Well, the good news for Flash Wolves is that they get a couple of late kills here, so they get a spawn camp, or at least they get the bookshop hold as a minimum. So that's going to help them a lot.
Whoa.
Mega are going to turn on the heat.
Yeah, Apudo's got something to say about that, actually. Jongi's shield was low. Zonda's barriers were down. Apudo actually sniffed out a great opportunity there. Even though he lost, what he does is stops exactly what you were just talking about in that bookshop hold that Flash Wolves had the opportunity to do otherwise.
It just didn't have the tanks, didn't have the shields available. You question, like, where was the, what happened to Jongi's shield there? What happened to Zonda with the barriers? Just not enough tankiness when you consider that there's actually 3 tanks. It's kind of ridiculous.
Not quite sure what White was looking for there. Kind of went in blind and still committed the pulse bomb anyway, but they've got some resources to get aggressive. Really trying to take the aggressive route in these fights, get on top of Flash Wolves before Flash Wolves can commit any of their various resources that are almost available. Jongi the only one they get for that so far. There aren't many resources left for Flash Wolves themselves. It's the whole hog out from K-Momo, trying to just get something done, but they're not getting anything. T2 kind of tanks it up, and off the back of that, they get a cap as well. Jongi changing off the Reinhardt just as Earthshadow was coming up. Now they're really relying on Zonda's grab, because that's basically all they've got.
Great flanks and great moves from Graceful on the backside as well. He was able to do a lot of damage, get a lot of pick-off kills, one of which was onto Sinclair right at the end there. That really put a damper on the Flash Wolves defense, waiting for that late.
There it is. 1 for 1 is actually not a lot off the grab, but they get the extra ones now, as White was looking for the wraparound but couldn't quite close out the kills. And as low as Zonda and K-Momo got, Many of the Nano Boost onto this as well, maybe not needed, but it's done, and Flash Wolves do complete the hold. Looks like I think Sinclair and Zonda may both be changing off here.
And the Graviton Surge is what Flash Wolves needed. Despite not having enough energy there, the Nano Boost keeping himself alive. Sinclair was going to change off anyway, so they are just going to go back to more of a standard composition. Flash Wolves know how dire the situation is. They know the cart is nearly there. One more corner separates Mega from a full cap out, and there's still 4 minutes and 45 remaining. Flash Wolves, they can't afford this. They need to make sure they bleed down the timer.
And it's actually a real uphill battle. The Sound Barrier and Tactical Visor instantly committed, instantly killing Zonda. Looking to get Jongi too. Came almost down. Sinclair's down. They're just getting smacked down and routed, and T2 just barely losing his life at the end. Oh no, Apudo off the edge to the boop. It is maybe the saving grace for Flash Wolves as they get graceful too. Mega get it close, but my goodness, what a way to stabilize.
A couple of members from Flash Wolves had the right moves there, especially it was Realman getting the first kill onto Apudo. That was probably the most important one that really set the stage, because once Graceful went down as well, 2 of your 3 DPSs, that's 2/3 of all your damage. That's going to be a full reset, even if other members didn't die on Mega's side.
And that is the volatility of triple DPS, right? You saw both of it in the one fight, the explosiveness when it went off, and how quickly it crumbled when they lost the one tank and the DPSs were exposed. Instant catch onto White, nice shots from Sinclair. Now they look to go aggressive on Mega, and the conversion is there onto Apudo, conversion is there onto Graceful too, and it's all the DPSs going down. No ultimates committed and more charged up for Flash Wolves. Heck, they might even get T2 for their trouble.
Yeah, they might even get White one more time if White's not too careful here, and you are seeing exactly what you said, which is unfortunately the exploitation of the fact that there's just not enough HP on the Mega side. They have to wait for the ultimates now. Flash Wolves, despite changing the composition rather late, have built up all of the ultimates that they've been waiting for. The only one they're really missing is Zonda on the Tactical Visor, but they just set to defend.
Bacon Jack able to pull it back to the team, but it's NZNR getting the opening pick onto his counterpart. Self-destruct and Sound Barrier both committed here, but NZNR with this Transcendence is just looking to get the team on the points. They've absorbed some ultimates, and now the Primal Rage too, but it's T2 converting the first kill. Sinclair's going to have to make some kind of rescue play now with the Sound Barrier, or maybe it's going to be the Tactical Visor. Flash Wolves do at least still have the resources, but Mega have weathered most, and are going to be getting their own online soon as they lose K-Momo's mech here, and the man himself, T2 still staying alive. Now Apudo's going to be able to match this Tactical Visor as Zonda finally starts his one out. There goes Apudo's. That means Zonda has to turn tail and run, and he's not even going to be able to get away. Going down now, Apudo looking to spawn camp as the payload making the final march. It's all last-ditch contest. Bacon Jack dead. No one else to do it, and they get into time bank with more time than Flash Wolves.
Double the time and a lot more to work with because of it. So now Mega set the stage. The real potential to win Kings Row is definitely there. That looks a lot better than what Flash Wolves showed on their own attack, and certainly a lot of weaknesses on the own Flash Wolves defense. It wasn't until the final moments of that defense. It wasn't until the card nearly made it to the end with still, I believe it was 3 or 4 minutes remaining. Flash Wolves said, we got to change comps. We got to go back to what we know, and what they know is the Soldier Tracer. But by then, they just didn't have the time to get a good setup. Despite winning a couple of team fights, they just didn't have enough left in the gas tank to close out the game.
And look, you've got to compare that as well to what happened on Nepal, because in that similar situation where Mega had a massive lead, they had the 99-0, Flash Wolves started to stabilize and then were able to hold out, and they were able to get the cap full. And I mean, look, it's Control, it's a different beast in a way, but here you had Mega off to a massive start with a huge lead coming onto that third point, and then you saw Flash Wolves starting to stabilize. They got another good fight win, but then Mega got one back and got it back over the line anyway. So you see them kind of having this progression. It's not this full stabilization from Flash Wolves where they were kind of failing before. Mega have cleaned it up, were able to get that next fight win to push it over the line. Now it's going to be all about the defense.
You see Mega stick to their guns as well. They know what works, they know what they're comfortable on, and they know what's been effective against Flash Wolves so far. Still though, this Tracer Soldier gameplay out of Mega, that's been the winning combination for Mega, and they want to close it out with it as well.
You actually kind of can't say the same for Flash Wolves, even though this is their kind of greatest hits, I suppose. Good setup by Apudo. Zonda able to stay alive, though, is crucial, and Apudo not quite getting topped off just yet. Means the attention of these healers is very split as T2 goes down. And that's exactly what Flash Wolves needed. They do get the trade back on the Jongi, though, and that could be all Mega need in this one. Need to get a few more, though. It's Graceful getting pressured out, going to lose the mech. No response just yet. They're not able to quite challenge Bacon Jack here, and White's just having to turn tail and run. They need to at least pull time off the clock here, if nothing else, and definitely don't give away kills that give Flash Wolves the opportunity to snowball.
Mega's still in this one. There's just a couple of members hanging around. These couple of members, unfortunately, they're just going to end up dying because Bacon Jack's chasing them down, running them over, and there's just not enough Mega members available now.
And even though they got those 2 kills, what they've done is exactly what I just said they needed to desperately avoid doing, and that is give away ult charge. Look, it's only 25 seconds. You cannot go for that, and you're probably going to be fine. They don't exactly have the ultimates to snowball Streets phase, but you went in, you gave ult charge, you gave away kills, then you made some compositional change-ups. You gave away later kills than that, and now Flash Wolves do have the resources to snowball.
Yeah, Flash Wolves just need to try and get as much distance as they can here with only 1 minute to start with on this entire map. The fact that camped out A is a pretty good start already. Whatever they get onto B is just going to be bonus.
Good pulse bomb into Jongi, but no closeout on the kill. Now he's going to be able to get a Primal Rage as well. Bacon Jack not getting much mileage with his own pulse bomb though, but Mega still need to find a way into this fight. There's all these ultimates now on the side of Flash Wolves, those defensive ultimates that stop Apudo from doing much of anything. And Flash Wolves are converting off them as well. You know how badly Mega's Streets phase defense went first time around, and with overtime the only factor here, they're still crumbling. All they need is one fight win, and they're just never finding it. They've given this opportunity to Flash Wolves.
And they've really committed onto Zonda as well without picking him up. So many resources. When I talk about resources, it's mainly time. Time commitment by certain members not to get that kill, and then the rest of Mega fall apart anyway. We're nearly capped out on B. This is so much progress for Flash Wolves when they only had 1 minute.
And there goes White in for the contest, but oh, they let the cap go through! And now they've gone for the fight. Look, it doesn't allow for any further time, at least, but even so, Flash Wolves are getting a little bit pressured. Mega do have resources, but they must convert. Apudo does get the 1, but they've got to get more, but there it finally is at long last. Getting Sinclair, looking to close out on Zonda, just shy of the Meteor Strike. Overtime going to disappear the moment they get K-Momo out of the picture here, because Jongi was the earlier casualty. He goes down now with that Primal Rage running, bumped off. That's the hold. A lot of distance for Flash Wolves, and you've got to say, that should have been defensible prior to that on the Streets phase. Mega did themselves no favors with that ill-fated last-ditch contest. When are we going to see this team learn from that mistake? Because they make it every single time.
Flash Wolves, they'll be happy to take it and run away with it as well. Getting that second camp onto B, that is incredible progress for 1 minute of camp time to start with. They spent the entirety of Streets phase on B into the overtime, and Mega, during that entire phase, just couldn't stop them right up until the end. The fact that no one was able to stop that cart as it went over onto B, when Mega was all over it already, that's going to be the most difficult thing for this team, because you can accept that maybe the cart gets to B, but as long as you stop them before they cap it, that's still a very winnable position for Mega. But now Mega, they have to even fully cap B out, which is going to be quite difficult with their time available.
The thing with them is, on their own attack, the snowball was a big factor for themselves. They got it all the way to just before capping C with a huge amount of time. They actually have to repeat that performance now. And look, if you could do it once, you'd say you can do it twice, but again, you've got to go to that notion of executing when it counts. If they don't execute when it counts here, Flash Wolves get to take it to match point, when really, this was Mega's map to lose in a lot of ways.
And it's not just about Mega doing what they did last time. They capitalized on Flash Wolves not knowing how to play their composition properly. Now Flash Wolves are going to be sticking to the Tracer Soldier, which is what they finished C on when they were defending originally anyway. So you got to expect this to be a much better defense out of Flash Wolves, especially with Zonda playing Soldier into Graceful's Pharah.
It is triple DPS though out of Mega, and there is that Soldier for the Pharah, but if Zonda's constantly getting zoned out, then it doesn't count for much. Good shot onto Realman actually, getting that one through with Zonda. There you have it, getting pressured out, has to go in for the wraparound now. Mega looking to set up on the point. Good rockets on the Zonda, and that's the one that's going to crack it wide open, because now the Pharah, largely uncontested, instant convert onto Jongi, instant convert on K-Momo's mech. They lose White and NZ and R, but they close out on Bacon Jack. That is now no longer the threat. They kill K-Momo just as he's trying to get back into the mech, get Realman a second time. Now actually Flash Wolves kind of doing the same in terms of giving away a lot of ult charge. Mega, this is exactly the start they needed.
And Apudo is showing Zonda how it's done as well. Just kind of feeding Zonda one rocket into the face, a triple rocket if you consider that it's a helix. And now Mega push on through A, capped out fairly comfortably, with 130 remaining after capping out A, to move through streets and completing B altogether. It's certainly doable, but you will expect there's only a buffer time of one fight loss. If Mega do lose a fight, they're heading into the overtime, and then it's going to be be really difficult.
And Flash Wolves are going to look to take an early fight if they can. They're already set up for it, but the Rocket Barrage is a factor, and it's a factor they need to respect, and he's looking to get the wraparound here, has found the tanks, trying to get him behind. They demet K-Momo. Now there's nothing to block said Rocket Barrage as they commit it. It doesn't get the work. Jongi takes him down, but loses his own life for it. Oh dear. White going down to Realman. Mega not looking stable at all here, not keeping a Puto alive. They just not commit the Tactical Visor either. They're looking to get some ultimates out of Flash Wolves, but they're also kind of committing a lot of their own here, having not committed some previously. They just look a little bit disconnected. They're committing some when it's maybe a bit late and getting away with it, and then they're not committing ones that could have maybe won fights, and on the whole, it means Flash Wolves committing all their ultimates have stabilized.
Now, Flash Wolves, they make a better commit than Mega. They'll be quite happy with the fact that Mega used ultimates on their own to try and stay in. And it looked a little bit questionable in the start with Zonda using the Tactical Visor. He actually nearly went down there, but because he killed the Pura, because he converted other kills, now Mega heading into the overtime. That was the only fight they're making to lose, and now they're going to be in a position where they can't.
Good trade onto Bacon Jack, though, could be the saving grace because White respawns faster as Realman commits the sound barrier, but the pressure is still coming out. Mega don't really have many resources aside from that Transcendence just being used now as a Puto not got enough with the Dragon Blade. Now Flash Wolf's going to come in for that last contest. K-Momo has to commit the self-destruct to preserve his mech, but may get something for it too. Does not. That's the ultimates out of Zonda and Jongi, and that's exactly what they needed. Graceful trades one back, but it's nowhere near enough, and Mega get rebuffed. And you've got to say it. Those same consistency issues plagued them. Those same miscommitments of ultimates meant they could not repeat what had been their initial performance on their attack in the first phase of the game. And Flash Wolves pull it through on time back.
You actually see where Mega ended up getting their cart distance to. That is about where they should have stopped Flash Wolves on Flash Wolves time bank offense. If Mega had kept them out, or rather, if Mega had defeated Flash Wolves and stopped them from capping there, this would have been a Mega victory. It was more about Mega's defense in the time bank than it was about Mega's attack.
Exactly, but the thing is, you've got to say, when you put the two together, it results in no win for Mega. Yeah. And that's the unfortunate thing. Yeah, they should have been able to hold out earlier on the defense, realistically, and they did not do themselves any favor. They misplayed it. That's what it came down to. The fact that they got a successful defense later on down the line shows you that it was possible, right? It wasn't because Flash Wolves are just leaps and bounds ahead of them or anything. Then on their own attack, they had that great opportunity where Flash Wolves had committed ultimates, and Mega had time to not commit any ultimates of their own, take the fight loss, and come back in with momentum on their side, or commit their ultimates to win the fight outright and get the payload underway. And they went with a half-half approach that just completely fell to bits. As they say, don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing.
One or the other, right? Make a choice. Yeah. Make a choice of what you want to do there. And it probably would have.
It was indecision.
It would probably been, the correct decision would be the fact that, kind of mentioned previously that Mega had the buffer time of one fight loss. They are allowed to lose one fight when you had 1 minute 30 remaining.
They didn't use it.
And, well, they kind of did use it, but they got forced to use it rather than choosing to use it. Because they could have chosen to use it and said, look, we're going to lose this one, but come back with ultimates. Not the case.
Well, taking a look at the replay, this was their initial attack. And you see the time there, 1:07 for Flash Wolves is a reasonable amount of time for time bank, but this momentum was actually huge for the side of Mega. And the opening fight was kind of a proponent of that. They just split these tanks right up, and you kind of touched on it. It felt that Flash Wolves didn't quite know what they were doing with this composition. At least it didn't look super clean. And picking off Jongi as well just meant all these members were super exposed. They get Bacon Jack. They don't get any more than that, which is a good peel back by Flash Wolves. It buys them the opportunity for another contest, but they still can't really do anything with that contest. They're still in the process of pulling back and setting up. When they go in for it now, and the cap goes through, it's just too late. All these kills they get now actually don't mean anything, because the closeness of the respawn for Mega mean that Flash Wolves have to back off whether they want to or not.
Well, they do get the kills anyway, and what it does mean is it's not completely meaningless, because it allows them to get a closer hold, which if, they weren't able to get the kills anyway, they wouldn't be able to get. So you see in a lot of scenarios, and Flash Wolves is one of the few teams that has been able to do it, as well as Ardian, is get that spawn camp onto B. Even though the cart is starting to move, you hold them up at the archway, and you really start to just not even allow them to come out of spawn. Flash Wolves can do that. They started to do that, but, just kind of mistimed still.
Yeah, mistimed, certainly the way to put it. Well, on the whole, look, it didn't end there. That's the thing. The momentum was actually really big. You see this just under 5 minutes as they came into the last stretch here, and they got a huge fight here. Flash Wolves just barely stabilized, but the thing that allowed them to stabilize was the catch on T2Watt. It meant that as Mega was setting up for what would be the basically spawn camp, looking to catch all these respawners, they didn't have their tank, and that's where the volatility of triple DPS came back the other way and really hurt them. Took them a little while to get another fight win after that to push it over the line, but they did eventually do that. You've still got to give some credit to Flash Wolves for really capitalizing on that scenario to barely stabilize at the last minute.
And it's not just a kill onto T2Watt, because it was the boot from Realman onto Aputo as well, knocking him off the side of the map, and then a double kill from Sinclair onto Graceful and another player. So, you know, at the end of the day, it looked like a really bad situation, but the few members that were alive for Flash Wolves while waiting for respawns to come out did get the kills. So that's the volatility you're talking about. The fact that Mega had this big player advantage, but they couldn't leverage it, they couldn't get the return trades, and everyone just gets rebuffed.
Yeah, well, that is exactly how it played out, and off the back of that, Flash Wolves get to pick themselves up a King's Row win 2, taking it to match point.
Yeah, this is now a very difficult place for Mega to be, but we're going to have to find out exactly how Mega respond very soon. We're going to be taking a short break, but OPC Season 2 action does return after this. back to OPC Season 2. We're about to head into map 3 now of the second match of the night, which is between Mega and Flash Wolves. And so far, Flash Wolves leading the pack 2-0.
Yeah, well, the Wolf Pack leading the pack, there you have it. But yeah, absolutely there. And both were close in certain ways, but both were also quite decisively closed out by Flash Wolves. And you are seeing the disparity between these two teams. I mean, look, we've talked about the potential for upsets here and all that. Look, that potential is still there. It's still a factor. But it's the potential for an upset, which means the expected result is still the second place team beats the sixth place team, right? You've got to admit that. But even so, Mega are actually still playing this very, very close to Flash Wolves here. You've actually got to give some respect to that, given that Flash Wolves themselves have tidied up their act ever since dropping that loss to AHQ just a couple of weeks ago.
And the closeness comes mainly on the Nepal. It was a lot less close, I think you'd be comfortable saying, on the King's Row. And that's mainly due to the time bank differences, because when you look at the kind of advantages that Mega had going into time bank, you did expect more, but now a fresh map and a fresh opportunity.
And that fresh opportunity is on the moon. Horizon Lunar Colony, that's what Flash Wolves going to pick. I love this map.
The new frontier, this is where the opportunities are at, on the moon.
Space, the final frontier. I've been watching that new Star Trek show, actually. It's quite good. I've also been watching the Orville, which is like the polar opposite, and I'm also quite enjoying. Oh, just wanted to let that be known.
I'm mainly watching Overwatch. I'm only watching.
Only watching. Oh man, I remember those days. Those of us who didn't get into the beta. Only watch. Ah, bless. I remember there was like this brief window where the beta like ended, the servers all went down before the game was fully released. And like there was a thread at the top of the Overwatch subreddit that's like, gentlemen, it's been an honor only watching with you. And it's like, like all you've been doing is watching streams together. Like, I don't know, like there's a bit of community there, I suppose, but like, there's no great camaraderie. Like it's not like on the Titanic, like, gentlemen, it's been an honor playing with you, because at least the orchestra players were actually doing something. Like, don't fool yourself. You just had Overwatch on in the background while you were working.
Well, it's been a while anyway. What I'm really pleased about is that there is no country flag for the moon, because no one owns the moon.
No one owns the moon. It's just the moon.
And it's just the moon.
I think there's a treaty about it. You aren't allowed to own the moon. It's like how you technically aren't allowed to own Antarctica.
Only if you're part of that treaty, right? What if you're not a part of the treaty?
Well, like all the major powers have ratified the treaty. So it's like if you're a minor power and you tried to go to the moon and claim it, America would just be like, no, I like, by the way, that you're not allowed to claim the moon. You're not allowed to claim the moon, but America still stuck a flag on it, just in case. Just in case people let them
you're not allowed to claim the moon, but if you were allowed, it would be America.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just in case the countries were going to be like, actually, let's just let them have it. As if it was ever going to happen. Like, that's just the most American thing I've ever seen. It's like how you're technically not allowed to claim any land in Antarctica, but still there's like 5 or so countries that have. And some of them have overlapping claims as well. But they're like, nope, technically we're not claiming the land, we're just claiming to claim the land. Like, there's really, like, I can't say, I'm not allowed to say the actual word, but like horse dung, if you know what I mean there. Like, way of working around that treaty. Why can't you just leave Antarctica alone? So I hope they don't find. I hope they don't. I hope they don't find oil under Antarctica, because man, that treaty's going to go out the window quickly if they do. It's like if they found oil on the moon, that treaty wouldn't mean anything.
One day when ice and icebergs are really valuable.
Yeah, when
Until that day, it's about the cheese on the moon is what's valuable.
Cheese on the moon, exactly. When our cheese production fails, the moon will save us all. At least for those of us who eat cheese.
You don't know Wallace and Gromit, cheese on the moon?
Yeah, I know. I understand the reference, and I'm taking it further. Man, Wallace is not a handsome man. Well, here's Mega on the attack. Graceful. By the way, let's actually talk about what's happening on the moon, cheesy as it may be. Graceful nearly got a couple of picks in there, but they're getting the good pressure onto Flash Wolves, and this is the window for Mega now, given that they didn't lose any of their own members in that window for Flash Wolves to convert. So, can't anyone's fight.
Got a lot of burst damage, and here's he finally gets that headshot kill into Realman. He actually opened this fight with a nice headshot into another player. I think it was one of the tanks that really pushed him back.
Headshots abound, and T2 getting pressured out as well. That is...
Yeah, where's the Winston headshots?
Yeah, exactly. And they do get Jongi, but honestly, Realman's been able to regroup in the fight now anyway, and the kills are still coming up. Flashfuls, Mega just shy of a third, unfortunately, for themselves. They want to keep going in with this because they tried to channel the Dragon Blade, but actually got stopped up.
And thankfully for Apudo as well, he manages to keep that Dragon Blade a little bit more, a little bit further for Mega to retry this attack. Now get another attempt in there. Infrasight from Graceful now is ended. So for Mega, 2 minutes and 42 seconds remaining. Got a couple options here though. Inzerite also does have a Transcendence coming up, but likely with just Apudo's Dragon Blade and a good Pulse Bomb, they can win it.
Well, they need only those things. Bacon Jack trying to be as quiet as he can. The Riptide though.
It's not quiet.
Yeah, it's just loud. Still gets a kill though on T2, and that Pulse Bomb from White hasn't got anything. Apudo's pressured out. They want to take this fight. They've got a committed Transcendence for it, but I don't know if that's a good idea. Not with Graceful unable to really get on the point itself without their tank there as well. They haven't got any headshots out of him this time around. Bacon Jack, though, unfortunately goes flying away on the moon. Actually, I think that was his own Pulse Bomb. And Apudo is able to convert off the Dragon Blade because they have that slight tipping of the scales as White entering into the fight, going to get those closeouts. And that's how you do it, Mega, in style.
This time around, they're not even waiting for Graceful to land the headshots. You heard a couple shots whizzing past, but it was the fact that Bacon Jack killed himself to his own Pulse Bomb that really opened up the play for Mega to roll on through. And then you had a situation where White cleaned up a lot of kills on the backside. Zonda was forced in a bad position, now changing onto the Soldier, readying himself up for B.
I always like it when Tracer's like going really close and throw the Pulse Bomb out, and then they recall it. It's like, here, hold this. And, well, speaking of hold this, look at this aggression that Flashful's going to have to hold, as in contain.
Does get punished, though.
Yeah, it gets very heavily punished. Zonda's getting 3 kills, actually, for his trouble. Graceful gets 1 back on the mech. That's really not going to be enough to rescue this fight. Even the kill on Bacon Jack in the later parts of it, because they get those respawns. Mega do at least get themselves a 3rd, though, so not too bad.
This is Zonda reminding Mega that he's still a factor into this game, despite him changing onto the Soldier quite recently, already charging up 48%, so really pushing him his way up now. Graceful's still staying onto the Widowmaker for the time being, uses the Infrasight, so gonna have to look for a couple picks. If you're gonna run the Widowmaker, you gotta make this count.
Well, they get the conversion onto K-Momo, who had just nearly got back into the mech. And there's Graceful making it count. They do lose Apudo, unfortunately. That is a key source of damage, but they're keeping pressure on the point here, thanks to Graceful, especially onto members like NZ and R. They do get the kill on Jongi late in that, but losing a couple of members here means Mega not quite going to be able to get the extra pressure on that last third. Flashful's going to hold tight of that one, but so far Mega 2 pushes, 2 thirds, maybe in a 3rd one they'll get the cap.
Well, they are getting a lot of progress, so you have noted that out quite nicely. Not only that, but the progress has led to rather some decent ultimate charge. 3 about to come online. Flashfuls will be meeting that with their own 3, and even a 4th one on the Sinclair as well. So while only 1/3 remains, it's unlikely, or at least it's not quite clear, that Mega can do it within this next immediate push. They need to get rid of the double support ultimates.
Well, they took 1 off the table. Now they're looking to get rid of those support ones via Dragon Blade. They may actually get both of them out with the 1 there. Yeah,
it's so close.
Has to commit his ultimate, but he can't save Jongi with it, unfortunately. That's what Mega actually needed to open out the fight. Now they've got their own Transcendence as they convert that kill onto Singular. Get Zonda again before he can commit the tactical visor. K-Momo self-destruct will not find enough. Flashfuls deeply on the back foot now as Mega just running circles around them. 3 pushes, 3 thirds, that makes a cap.
Oh man, and Flashfuls, they should have had that cap. They should have had the defense sorted. They had double defensive ultimates, already used the sound barrier, but because they lost because they lost Zonda twice with the tactical visor twice, you never saw the damage output. So while they had the sustain, they couldn't get the kills, and that's what makes a difference at the end of the day, because Mega were getting the kills.
That was really incredible by Mega. I mean, that was just off the back of getting those picks. I mean, getting Zonda and then getting him again as he tried to reinforce. Look, the second one is a bit easier because there aren't those supports to keep him alive at that point as he's going in for the respawn, but it's still important that Mega were able to convert that. And that's the thing. I mean, if you talk about ability to execute when it counts, look, maybe the consistency isn't there, but the ability certainly is.
And they didn't save, Sinclair didn't save Jongi with the Transcendence as well. He left that Transcendence up to the last second. He nearly died. That was a big risk. He could have actually died, and then Mega would have taken that even easier, which, you know, is something to say, but the fact remains, had he used the Transcendence maybe a little bit sooner, would have saved Jongi, would have given Zonda a little bit more space to come out with as well, but just none of it happened.
Well, now they need to make it happen on their own attack, Flash Wolves. And to that end, actually, this is very doable for Mega here, given that they got that cap through. They got it in good time too, so they can feel pretty confident going into a time bank situation, provided Flash Wolves don't just absolutely smash through their defense, which isn't out of the picture either. But once again, Mega have put themselves in winnable territory here.
And Mega will be reminded of recent wounds as well, because you have to look at Time Bank on Kings Row as the example. They had a big advantage there. They had double the time that Flash Wolves did, but still couldn't win it. So Mega this time around, they got 3 minutes 42, which is very impressive. If they can really force Flash Wolves into a bad situation, they get to maybe redeem that Time Bank scenario.
All right, well, out the gate with the Doomfist, and there you have it again, folks. One of the few teams that's still very willing to run this, and also always converting stuff off it as well. Horizon Lunar Colony, a good map for that pick.
And Zonda's been one of the more consistent Doomfists so far in the tournament, and he's getting better and better as the season goes on. You saw how effective he was in the pool so far. It's expected to be just as effective here.
That was good enough save onto T2 and Apudo able to get the convert onto Zonda here. Flash Wolves have gone for a big kind of setup position here, but losing Zonda in that setup means there's actually this window for Mega to get aggressive and route. It's going to be hard for Zonda to actually rejoin the team here if Mega play their cards right.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, because Flash Wolves are now already held up around this hydroponics area. You got a situation now, White's looking for the respawn. He's looking to see where Zonda's positioning is. Got to be careful he doesn't just get one shot by Zonda, as the rest of the Flash Wolves squad will try and save him.
Yeah, Jongi pulls back to try and save Zonda, but yeah, gets too low, has to pull out, and there's the commit onto Zonda to close that one out. They still want to get this route here if they can, and now they're willing to go for it, given that they have the ultimates, just trying to run circles around Flash Wolves, and even not getting these converts here really runs down the clock. Eventually, Flash Wolves are going to have to actually give up this position and just start from scratch.
And Flash Wolves have already committed 1 minute and 15 seconds, but how they got to go aggressive. T2's just in the wrong place.
Yeah, tried to go for where Flash Wolves were, not respecting the move Flash Wolves are actually making. Flash Wolves kind of took Mega by surprise. I don't think they were actually expecting that to come in, and it shows, by the way, in how quickly Mega died and how quickly Mega got pushed back around that. They were kind of thrown into disarray. Now, very late kill onto Graceful here, who will not get back in the mech, it seems. There's no point even trying,
The worst part for Graceful is that he's actually unable to get back on the cap itself, which means they're not going to kill him until they have to, because Graceful is not stopping the cap. Now he's not coming back alive just yet. If Flash Wolves can push quite quickly, with these ultimates, with the snowball potential, Mega are going to be on the back foot.
Absolutely on the back foot. All they've really got to work with here is that tactical visor. Got a few coming up soon, but Flash Wolves definitely have enough to snowball, at least get a third. Not getting a third would be pretty unfortunate for them.
But if Mega can stabilize here, you're going to get below 3 minutes and 42 seconds. That should be the goal for Mega. If Flash Wolves are going to cap eventually, you don't want them to be your own time bank time. Now Sinclair taking down Elk rather early. K-Moment gets his mech as well. It's go time.
Yeah, it's a really big one, and absolutely go time as Zonda looking to get in. Finds Apudo. Key target. T2 has to commit the ultimate just to stall, just to buy a bit of that time. They commit out the self-destruct as well. Good catch on Zonda. Better than nothing. Sinclair and that ultimate has run out now. Not getting anything out of that pulse bomb is White, but is still in the fight. They get the respawn from Apudo and instantly start converting off at Flash Wolves, not opting to commit any more ultimates. They do get the Transcendence out of Elk. No third though.
Puts Mega in a really interesting spot because Flash Wolves use double support ultimates there, so it's kind of uncomfortable. They're going to have to rely on a lot of burst damage coming into their next push. They still have the ultimate advantage, so they still need to commit. And actually, Mega, they're not out of the woods just yet.
Most certainly not. Especially if Apudo gets picked that quickly this time around as well. And of course, running NZNR on this Ana means they actually lose out on that second defensive ultimate in the sound barrier. They have to get a lot of work off Nano Boost. That's another quick pick from Zonda to open it out. Flash Wolves.
Apudo needs to achieve what Zonda couldn't do on his own defense, which is actually use the tactical visor, not get locked up in the base. That was a really risky move by Zonda, and rightly so punished.
Yeah, greedy is the way to put it. And Jongi looking to get similarly aggressive and may also get punished, has to commit the ultimate. Still no third for Flash Wolves as well as they lose K-Momo's mech. Apudo only just going down now, and that may be enough for Flash Wolves to get a third, but they have lost a couple of members. There's enough here for Mega to maybe stabilize. Graceful can throw out a self-destruct. T2 had that Primal Rage as well. Still Still no third. Now Respawn starting to come in for Mega. They stop Graceful getting back in the mech. The Nano Boost is on T1. He's looking to get aggressive. Does not get anything, unfortunately, for himself. And Apudo now is going to have to be the backbone of a stabilization. Flash Wolves on the back foot. Most that great stick. He's able to run it back into the base, though, so he is going to be fine. But that's 2/3 now for Flash Wolves. Mega, they need to run down the clock. Did he get on the point? Just barely touching it as Graceful. But they need someone else to touch it now. White's going to go for it. He's going to get on, but not for long, as all the kills starting to come up. Flash Wolves, no trades coming in. And Mega, with all the opportunities to stabilize, could not quite get it done. Flash Wolves, it looked super rough for so long, but actually, they are just that good that they are never quite out of the fight.
And the really interesting thing here is, despite all of that, Mega get the better time back. 3:42, I believe, versus 3:32. It's only by about 10 seconds or roughly within that mark or that margin, but it's something. They got the minimum. They achieved the minimum result there, which has to be get a better time bank than Flash Wolves. The difficult thing now to consider is it's not even as good as it was on King's Roar, and we've already seen what happened with the King's Roar time bank. Now Mega have to do even better with less.
I mean, that was incredible, right? Because what actually happened is both times Flash Wolves pushed to get the cap, they started very much on the back foot, but the fact that Mega weren't quite able to close it out, there's kind of two sides to that. First of all, it goes to show the skill of Flash Wolves. Numbers deficit does not mean the end of the world for them. There are teams in this tournament still where that very much is the case, but for them and also teams like Ardian, it is absolutely not. They still find ways to get back in the fight. They still find win conditions. And it also says Mega weren't quite able to close out the extra kills to turn their own numbers advantage into a fight win all the time.
A lot of that comes down to the fact that it's, you know, good mechanical play and really good plays from behind by a lot of these teams. This is when you see Flash Wolves still coming out ahead despite being behind. Ardian doing the same thing. Bacon Jack got himself a triple kill even though his teammates started to fall down. That allowed enough space for Flash Wolves to respawn, and that's why they got the cap out. But still, they didn't cap as fast as Mega, and that's why they're attacking first.
You got to see Mega get a longer lasting defense this time around, and Elk going down early. They do get the trade back on the Zonda though. So Flash Wolves kind of in that same position this time where they're waiting for that respawn. Difference is this time Elk won't be able to rejoin the team just as much as Zonda will struggle to rejoin his.
You know, so a little bit of time already disappeared, but Flash Wolves sitting up in the same position they were previously. Because they lost Zonda, they're kind of in the same position they were on their first attack. They got to wait for Zonda to get back in. Now they're going for it.
Yeah, and without that Orb of Discord, it's so much harder to deal with Jongi as low as he may be. And he's just able to run circles around Mega, who absolutely fall to bits on the point. That's going to be a very quick cap out of Flash Wolves. Now looking to get back onto B as well, and Mega are at real risk of getting fully capped out in time bank.
Now, once again, Graceful's demec'd here, just put in a really bad spot. This is going to be a really late kill. Actually, killing Realment's not bad here. This is going to stop Flash Wolves from getting a really quick push on through. I'm not going to allow that snowball just yet. And with that, Flash Wolves now with 2 minutes and 51, just barely going into B, and no ultimates just yet either.
Does make it a little hard to get their out-and-out snowball, but Mega don't exactly have resources of their own. And Flash Wolves, yeah, Flash Wolves are about to get a couple, so there's still the opportunity to, I mean, at least get a third. And I mean, you know, Flash Wolves, they can get a big snowball out of seemingly nowhere, so don't let the ultimates fool you.
And they're just going to get 2 of the support ultimates now because they're so close. So once they get both of those, they can stabilize quite well.
That's a good opening catch onto Jongi. Means those support ultimates actually can't really do much, even as they do finally start coming up. But even then, they lose Sinclair just as he had the Transcendence. That is a great fight win out of Mega, as Flash Wolves had no resources. But now they do have to win a fight where Flash Wolves do have those resources.
And unfortunately, Flash Wolves didn't get away cleanly there. They lost too many members, and Mega, because they got those extra kills, they get to charge up their own ultimates. Ensign and crucially, nearly onto Transcendence, and Apudo as well. He's about to hit that tactical visor. They have sustain, they have the damage, and Mega, they have the ability to hold.
Just need to see that really get executed upon though, don't you? That's the key thing. Great pulse bomb onto Graceful, plus the damage to insta-give him. T1 has to commit the ultimate now. White doesn't find anything with his own pulse bomb. The Transcendence out of Sinclair, plus the damage onto T1. NZNR did not have his Transcendence just yet, and now he's going to lose his life. No, has to commit it to keep Apudo alive, but it's still Flash Wolves keeping their members alive with the sound barrier, as Apudo finds nothing with that tactical visor. Great self-destruct from K-Momo, knocking out all those members, and White getting the one back may not be anywhere near enough because Graceful pressured out. It's kind of the last hope here for Mega. Gonna have to go back on to contest that point. Buy time for White, buy time for Apudo, maybe get a good grab off. They grab, stabilize. There's the grab, they get the kills off it, Bacon Jack gets one back, but that should just be enough to rebuff Flash Wolves shy of that second third.
Just not getting that second third as well is going to really hurt Flash Wolves on their remaining pushes, of which they don't really have that many. Maybe one good push remaining. Killing Zonda there from White was actually a really big deal. Zonda was close to Tactical Visor. Flash Wolves really needed the Tactical Visor to finish the map, and then Graceful got enough damage to get that Graviton in there, gets himself the double kill, so Mega, they just set themselves up really well.
That's a decently placed Pulse Bomb into T2-1. Don't quite get the follow-up just yet, but they're able to put pressure on. But that's a good trade back on the Zonda. All they need is a few picks like that to repel Flash Wolves here, because they do have that respawn advantage, and that is what they get. Now Flash Wolves staring down the barrel of one last fight.
This is the nightmare scenario for Flash Wolves, because once again, Zonda just gets shut down before he can use the Tactical Visor. It looks like Flash Wolves defending B all over again, just never gets the ultimate in effect. Apudo has managed to charge up his own before Zonda even uses one, and now Flash Wolves came over losing mech. This looks dire.
Yeah, super quick on that one, and Apudo with that Tactical Visor. They're all zoned off. They're barely getting onto the point just now with the Transcendence from Sinclair, but he's only doing it for a couple of people, so unless a miracle comes from Zonda, not going to happen, it seems, despite the stall out with the Primal Rage. They're going to fight to the last here, absolutely, but T2's going to have his own Primal Rage. There's the Transcendence from NZNR, and unless they can somehow get progress to push it over that 53, which they will not do, that's where it's going to sit at 53.9, the total percentage on B. And again, Mega are in this situation where it's winnable for them. It's all going to come down to how they execute.
Well, the win condition is quite clear, right? They just have to get to B, and they have to get past that percentage that you've already listed. But the issue is they've struggled on A already in this series. The issue is if they do not get a good time on A, they're not going to get that chance to cap out on B, and that's what you have to consider here, because it's been the most difficult thing for Mega to do.
It really has, and they are just looking tidier and tidier every single time they fight, so that's the good thing, I suppose. And maybe that'll be enough here. Maybe that'll be enough to get this map back. And you've also got to say it's the same situation they've been in really every single map they've played so far against Flash Wolves here. The opportunity to win has been there, but each time so far, they've failed to capitalize on that opportunity. And maybe that'll happen again, or maybe this is the turnaround.
This Flash Wolves defense is already a little bit different. You're not going to see the Junkerates coming out this time around, or anything crazy like that. When Flash Wolves are put with their backs against the wall, it is usually the Tracer Soldier that come out on the other side. But will it be enough, or is it going to be a 3-0? If it is going to be a 3-0 for Flash Wolves, this has been a very tight series. Otherwise, Mega are likely to push this into a map 4.
Yeah, certainly as tight as you expect from this series, but also tighter than Flash Wolves would feel comfortable with going into playoffs. So, you know, you kind of get both sides of that one. Interestingly enough, NZNR going down in the early pick, though. That's the sort of thing that Flash Wolves need to be getting in here. And Apudo, too.
It's a lot of
now
kills.
It's going to be a rout here because Mega kind of hesitated. Do we finish the movement? Do we pull back? Flash Wolves totally capitalize.
And the extra kills there that Flash Wolves get, it's just going to push them further and further into a situation where ultimates just come online, especially for Zonda, who's already on 50%. He got himself 2 kills in there, I believe. Graceful immediately changing onto the Diva, so not even getting the progress onto the Xayah, and that puts Mega further and further behind. They only had 3 minutes and 42 to start with. It's like 10 seconds more than Flash Wolves, but already they're way more than 10 seconds behind Flash Wolves.
Yeah, and again, losing NZNR in the movement. They trade back at least on Sinclair. And actually catching Jongi may be the one they need here. They need to get just a little bit more still. That could be where they fall short of the mark. They're just not quite getting those extra kills through, at least not yet. Certainly not down and out for the count, but actually with losing Apudo, maybe that is going to be the case now. Tito are getting routed out, and they're really losing a lot of time here on A.
This has to be a full retreat now, lest they lose even more members, lest they lose even more time waiting for said members to respawn. White's still the mix here, and this is what I'm talking about. Now they got to wait for this guy. And suddenly, Mega are just further and further behind. Ultimate's coming online for Flash Wolves as well. This is looking more and more difficult for Mega to achieve.
There's just so much time lost, and like for not even a third, right? And every single time it's been in the setup. Mega should be starting to anticipate this by now. And now without ultimates, where Flash Wolves do have them, it's just even harder for Mega to get onto it. They're just relying on good individual kills, but they're constantly getting surrounded. They're constantly losing NZNR. They get the trade backs, but they're also losing their DPSs in the mix as well. It's a Pudo, and then it's T1, and then it's the route, and then someone will die late. White gets the one back with the pulse bomb, but why? They can't capitalize off it, and this is just going to be, again, getting repelled. They do get a few more resources out of Flash Wolves at least, but even less time on the clock now for Mega.
The only thing you can really give Mega here in terms of a positive is the fact that they got rid of Jongi's Primal Rage. Doesn't look like K-Momo has a self-destruct either, but for the rest of Flash Wolves, they hold onto the ultimates, and Mega, once again, time and time again, they go into hydroponics, they trap themselves in there, and Flash Wolves strike.
That's the commit, and instantly they convert onto NZNR despite the sound barrier, which means no Transcendence going to be coming up. Apudo not getting much with the Dragon Blade either. T1 and Graceful are now the only ones who can really do the legs in this fight in terms of the ultimate usage. They get some good zoning, but they need to convert these kills. They at least get K-Momo's mech, and they're trying to force Jongi out, but Bacon Jack and Zonda are still in this, still putting the damage on, still largely uncontested in truth, and now Jongi able to re-aggress with that with that sound barrier on him. And speaking of tactical visor, Zonda still has that if they need it. NZNR committing, but it's not going to save these DPS heroes. T1 only getting the one, and Flash Wolves still had more resources, still had the tactical visor. They convert off that, and yeah, too late. Look, they at least get 2/3. They've at least got that final chance, but they've not done themselves any favors for actually converting off that chance.
Yeah, the problem is they need to be setting up for the final fight here. They should know they weren't going to turn it around then. Maybe the possibility was, but you haven't even dealt with Zonda's tactical visor. Now that you have, what are you coming back in with? Graceful changing onto the Widowmaker. Short of a couple of really good headshots, if you can kill Sinclair, then Mega's got a chance. But other than that, Transcendence is going to keep Flash Wolves alive.
And it's really the big kahuna. Good catch onto Bacon Jack, though. They need a little bit more than just that. Still, that Transcendence still a factor. And T1 low. They need to do a lot of work, given that they essentially one DPS down, but they lose NZNR. They lose T1, and they're still not getting these kills. There's that Transcendence. Now self-destruct is a factor. Even Graceful dying. Apudo dying. And everyone's just falling short of the mark. Once again, say it with me, Mega just aren't quite able to make it happen when it counts. Flash Wolves, on the other hand, are. That is why they are second place.
Unfortunately, still for Mega, unable to fulfill Elk's birthday wish here. A 3-0 victory for Flash Wolves. That was a really commanding defeat by the Flash Wolves against Mega right at the end there. And it shows, once again, as soon as you get into a time bank scenario, it's Mega that cannot pull through.
And that's the thing, I mean, you can talk about the closeness of the series as well, and we do have to, because it's close for a match that is between the second place and the 6th place team in this tournament. That being said, that closeness isn't unprecedented, because that's really been how the tournament has gone so far. Even these bottommost teams in the standings have really challenged the topmost teams in the standings, but the reason the top ones are on the top and the bottom ones are on the bottom has been exactly what happened here tonight, with Flash Wolves taking on Mega, has been converting when it counts, has been getting those fight wins, and when it's really, really mattered, when it's been in time bank, it's been Flash Wolves going the distance where Mega aren't. And it hasn't even been a close but no cigar. It's been the distance. It's been a convincing closeout when it counts.
That's the thing for Flash Wolves, right? Because they can get those wins at the end of the day. It kind of feels like Ardian in a way where when you expect them to like, oh, they're going to lose this map, and they don't. And that's why it's a 3-0 victory.
Exactly that. Let's go ahead and take a look at some replays on Horizon and Lunar Colony as well. See how that 3-0 played out. Of course, this was actually the initial attack, that came out of Flash Wolves, and it was actually off to a decent start. Actually, no, I think this was their defense. Never mind that. But it was consistently off to a good start. Graceful wasn't able to get too much done on the Widowmaker for quite a long while.
That's how Bacon Jack died.
But this was the change up, right? Jongi was low, Bacon Jack died to his own pulse bomb, and suddenly there was this window to commit. Apudo totally pulled off his Dragon Blade here, getting a lot of work done. White able to get the damage in, and this is the other side of that triple DPS coin. This is the volatility in explosiveness.
And by the way, Graceful, prior to this scenario, actually got himself a couple of headshot kills, a couple of just decent shots in general, despite not getting all the kills he was putting in the damage, and that allowed Mega to get that area control, really put Flash Wolves into a weird spot, and then Bacon Jack killing himself really set the chain of events that led to Mega capping.
And that's the thing, maybe if Bacon Jack hadn't have been dead there, actually he would have been able to get the wraparound on those backliners while White and Naputo were getting aggressive. You could have seen their supports dying, and that's actually often what's happened with Mega. The supports will die, the DPSs will go aggressive. If they don't convert the kills, then look, it's pretty obvious that it's hard to win the fight from there. Even when they do though, you often end up in this situation where they'll be low, they don't have supports to fall back to, and the members of Flash Wolves that are still alive, which by then will tend to be at least Bacon Jack or Zonda and one or both of the tanks, is enough to kind of come back in, pick off those really low health DPS members, and suddenly, despite things going kind of well for Mega, they're actually at a numerical disadvantage and can't really close out the fight from there because they just don't have the damage.
And actually after that as well, when you have Mega pushing on through to B, Flash Wolves didn't really stabilize. It just never looked like Flash Wolves found their feet again. You had multiple occasions where Zonda sat on a tactical visor, just never really got it in there. Multiple times he just died. A lot of pressure out of Mega. So Mega, moving on from A where they struggled, they were quite successful in B, and that's where you saw the cap out. But A has to be the talking point because that's where they consistently failed.
And that's the thing. Look, Mega on the whole do have some quite consistent weaknesses across Season 2. Their improvement has been marked. Their play as a team has improved. They've kept up. In fact, they've even pushed beyond. The fact that at the start of the tournament, they weren't picking up many wins against these top teams, and then they went to take on one against AHQ is a testament to that. Back to that in a moment, though, because, of course, replay is on our screens. We've got, this is Flash Wolves pushing it over the line themselves. And it took them quite a while, but eventually it had to be stall being the game plan from Mega.
And that was Zonda, unfortunately, getting a little bit too aggressive there with the Meteor Strike. Note that when he comes down from the Meteor Strike, he's extremely vulnerable, and he can't kill anyone inside the spawn anyway, so just a little bit weird that he tried to use it. It was a zoning tool that kind of backfired. The good news is Bacon Jack and Zonda, or Bacon Jack and Jongi rather, still pick up the majority of the kills, allow Zonda to respawn and rejoin the fight. Jongi did a great job in the middle there, nice micro play onto the bubble on top of Graceful's mech to stop the self-destruct, and then just a large string of kills. No good response from the side of Mega, unfortunately.
And that's the thing, the trade kills just stopped happening, and it was because the few members that did die kind of died in the right order as far as Flash Wolves are concerned, right? They got the right sort of picks at these very opportune moments. They kept Mega very split up. Mega, the saving grace was that for this long protracted fight, it took about a minute for Flash Wolves to finally get it over the line, which meant they had less time in the time bank than what Mega had. But even that actually ended up not being enough when it did go to time bank, so it's kind of hard to say that that's a saving grace.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Because you have to use King's Roar as the marking point here, which is the fact that they had double the time in time bank and it wasn't enough. This time they only had 10 seconds, and yeah, not enough.
And this was their own eventual push. This is their defense in that time bank.
This is graceful, going large.
And it took quite a while for Flash Wolves to really get anything done here. They got picked off very consistently, but finally they were able to get some conversion here. The pick on T2 was huge, and this was where Flash Wolves found themselves with a lot of resources. But the thing is, where they had actually failed to stabilize in a similar position on their initial defense, in time bank, actually the stabilization does eventually happen. And like you said, a lot of it was off the back of Graceful, who was able to pull back, able to get the grab up, even as T2 goes down. They just had this convenient moment here where they had just a few tools. The sound barrier can come in, they get the Graviton Surge, and Graceful himself converts those crucial kills off it, getting 3 of the 4 members who were stuck in it, and then getting K-Momo after that grab had run out as well, was exactly where the stabilization happened. Flash Wolves never quite got back into it after that.
That's the kind of snowball momentum and potential that a hero like Xayah has. The fact that he stayed alive. The micro play I want to highlight there was Graceful using his own projector barrier, the self barrier, to block out the self-destruct damage from K-Momo. This just charges his own energy up. By the time he got that triple kill and then the 4th kill into K-Momo at the end, he was at 100 energy. We saw it from his point of view in the play of the game, and that's why he did so much damage. He dives in, Graviton Surge was great, dodges the Matrix from K-Momo, just consistently outplaying K-Momo on all sort of stages in those final moments.
Yeah, and you've got to really credit the guy for that. And unfortunately, he can't actually earn himself player of the game. But I tell you who can is Bacon Jack. So they flip the Bacon Jack Jongi coin. It lands on the Bacon Jack side, and it's going to be him on the Tracer to earn that one for himself.
And it was quite, when you see his ability on particularly particularly on Horizon Lunar Colony rather, it was the final moments on their own tank. You see Zonda going a little bit too deep, dies on the meteor strike, but the guy that gets all the kills, that keeps the team alive, is Bacon Jack. He's just getting this massive strength, giving his own team enough time to let Zonda get back in the fight, get the full respawn in there, and in other scenarios as well. I think Zonda, or rather Bacon Jack, has just been truly solid.
And the thing is, you've actually got to be fair in saying we didn't actually see as much mileage out of Zonda in general. We saw him pull out the Genji, which he hasn't pulled out for a while. Kind of struggled a little bit on that one. We saw him have some good performances on Soldier, struggled a little bit sometimes on the Soldier. Certainly wasn't having a massive, massive impact. In fact, I would say, generally speaking, Apudo was having more impact on the Soldier. The Doomfist, on the other hand, was great for Zonda, was really, really going off, with the one exception being when they were trying to get that setup play on their attack of Horizon Lunar Colony. But really, that was just good positional play and punishment out of Mega. It wasn't any misplay by Zonda there. And even then, they were still able to win the fight. When Zonda rejoined it, he was a huge factor as well. But the other half of that has been Bacon Jack, who hasn't been having any consistency issues there. He's just green across the board.
Yeah, even look on the other side, like a couple of other members are kind of 50-50 there. Jongi had some huge moments. He also had a couple of moments where unfortunately he went down. That's kind of the nature of playing a main tank, though. K-Momo as well, he had some good moments, had moments where Graceful just completely outplayed them in that sort of highlight that we saw there. That's why Flash was coming on top, though. But now let's take a look at the couple of discussion with K-Momo at the end.
今天赛前喊话的时候，教练就有讲到，其实你们季后赛是基本上是确定了，
So,
没错的啦。
Ray said your
由于
position
前
in
面
the
又还有
playoffs
没有
is
输过的
now
阿典，
confirmed.
目前的训练方针有没有什么样的
So
改变
how are you guys
我
preparing for that
们约
against
队就
Arden?
尽量约跟他们相似的队伍。
So we actually try and play. We try and scrim the same teams Arden do.
都有中国有韩国这样。
We play both Korean and Chinese
尽
teams.
量找打法比较像的。
是，那所以
And we
最近
tried
的
to
训
find
练量有
teams that
增加
play
吗？还
like
是就
them
是
too.
跟以往一样，也不想太疲累？
我们好像已经很久没放假了吧。
It feels like we haven't taken a holiday in a
快
long
了，快
time.
了，下礼拜撑过去好不好
Maybe
那
after
在
next
因为
week when you
拳王
finish.
和炸弹鼠其实
So it
在
feels
你们
like
团队里
Junkrat
面，我觉得磨合
and
让
Doomfist.
你们适应的时间并没有很长，会
I
不会
feel
因为这样觉得
it's
有
like
点
you
担
guys
心
haven't had that much time to get
不会
used
因
to it just
为
yet.
他们就是他们有在练这只角色，所以还有一个礼拜应该是练。
Arden have practiced a lot. We still have 1 week to really get used to Junkrat.
可以
So you used to Junkrat now moving
这边
forward.
想问一下 K-Mo， 就是今天在国王大道上面出了一个非常非常奇特的阵型，
So
就是三坦阵。然后你是玩
Kings
哪
Road,
一
you
组
guys
啊
played
问一下
triple
为什么
tank,
今天
and
会
you
拿出
played
这样
one of
的
the
阵型
tanks.
因为我们想说有看过人家出，
是，
然后我们就出来
So
试试看
we saw it from
试试看嘛，
other
试试
teams,
看
and we wanted to show it as well.
试一下，
And maybe even bring out 4 tanks
有点烂。
one day.
可以。那这边想问一下，就是说，其实你们发现队伍上面的许多成员都开始有扩增自己的角色词，包括说连中打机都拿出了大家期待
So a
已久
lot
的
of
元氏
a lot of members in your team have
回
widened
到
the
就是
hero
你
pool.
像你啊，或者是
Zonda
3-1
came out
或
with
者
the
是像
Genji
是
today.
江体身上，你们的角色万年不变，有什么话想说？
What about
希望
you
下
and
一
some
个
other
版本
members?
可以让我玩到其他角色。
其他角色吗
My
那
wish
下
is
个版
that
本
next
中的
week
第一
I
把
can
你有
play
什么样
even
的
more
看法
heroes.
我在玩积分的时候是觉得蛮烂的，因为虽然可以杀人，但是很快就会爆甲。
D.Va
就是
just
整个价值
doesn't
转
feel
变很多。
very good for me right now. It
也保不住。
doesn't
对，
feel
那其实很
as
多观众们他
impactful
们
as I'd like.
都觉得说你们一定是你们都很希望你们在决赛的时候。能把卸下阿亮的，或者在明天。
So a lot of your fans are hoping you can beat Arden in the playoffs.
的时候，已经有露出许多的破绽。
Already we've seen them playing against Blank, some weaknesses shown on the Arden side.
看完有比較有自信一點。
It actually made us feel much better. Watching that series between Blank and Arden made us feel a lot better.
希望他们這禮拜也不要練習之類的。
怎麼可能？ 很被
If
動的
Arden
心態也
if
希望
Arden
他
don't
們這
patch
種
up their
表現
weaknesses, we hope they don't, and that'll give us a better chance in the
不会，
playoffs.
还是非常期待下一周，因为其实下一周每一队才会拿出真正的本事和搞不好有场什么大
So
招。
very
估计现
excited
在也不
for
好
the
说，那
playoffs,
期待你们
and
下
that's
周的
when
比赛了。
everybody's
那
going to be
我们下
showing
等一
their
下会
best
有
play
非
now,
常
but
精彩的
that's
比
going to
赛
be
哦。
the end of the post-match discussion with K-Momo.
And interesting to hear his thoughts, RE Arden there as well, because, I mean, playoffs or no, they may not even meet in playoffs if things don't go right for one or both of those teams, but they are guaranteed to meet one last time before then, and that is going to be the final match of tomorrow. Pretty exciting one to round things off.
Right, well, that's going to be the second match of the day completed now, and one more match to round things out for day number 2 of week 6, and that's going to be Hong Kong Attitude and AHQ Esports Club. So, going to be taking a bit of a break, but when we do come back, the final match continues, and so does OPC Season 2, so don't go anywhere.